will start as soon as we enter the... sorry, time starts as soon as we select difficulty, so we'll be going in 3, 2, 1, go. The timer has a 10-second delay because the auto splitter kind of accounts for the from start to when we actually load into the starting menu here. So as we start, it actually ends up asking us a question. Funnily enough, you can actually hit no and it sends you right back to the start of the game, or the opening menu. As we load into our first cutscene here, you're going to watch as I double tap down, it's going to queue up a sprint. One of the best things to do, and one of the kind of like speed techs that we actually use for overworld movement, is we queue up our movements during cutscenes or scene transitions. So here we see Blue Thief. He's going to be coming on stream, and he's going and he's going to actually go and take our arm, and that's going to be the first half of the game, is getting our arm back. I'm gonna bet on at least 5 accidental swears. Man, y'all have no faith in me. I'm surprised, Goros, you haven't started a prediction for if I will swear or not. But yes, so as the scene as the cutscene loads up and finishes, we're going to have that sprint already queued up, and it's going to allow us to immediately get out of the gates. We're going to walk over here and do our first conversation, which is the tutorial fight and kind of the introduction to actually have... oh, rude, Aaron, rude. This is the introduction to the fight. This is our tutorial fight. So, Frog Dad here is going to actually show us pretty much how most fights are going to go. However, we're going to get another one of these tutorials post-arm because we're going to get another move added. So, as you can see, Everhood is a music game, but it's actually a bullet hell disguised as a music game. So we have 5 lanes here that we can kind of go back and forth in to dodge notes coming towards us, but we can also jump and jump roll, meaning that if we jump and press to a direction, either left or right, we'll roll in that direction and we get invuln frames. There's a couple parts in the game where we're actually going to be a little bit cheeky and use these invuln frames to dodge attacks we really shouldn't. But this is the basis of the pre-arm fight, or pre-arm portion of the game. It's pretty much an auto-scroller, so you kind of just get to sit back, enjoy the songs, and kind of watch the pretty colors. Correction, we have no... Oh, y'all are rude. You got no faith. I can do this without swearing. Easily. Easily. 100%. But Frog Dad here is kind of the mentor to our main character. He's going to not only teach us how to fight, but kind of show us our purpose in this game for the most part. During the pacifist ending, he's also the last boss, funnily enough. However, because we're doing genocide, we're going to end up doing what he asks us, and we're going to not have to fight him. Might want to make sure you talk about seizure moments before you play. That is correct. Yeah, I definitely want to start off with flashing lights. They actually did tests on the game, the developers did, and they do have a photosensitivity mode, but the tests they showed don't trigger seizures, thankfully, which is really nice that they like actually went out of their way to test that, you know. Anyways, that is our first fight. This is also where he introduces us to our save points, the lampposts. However, we're going to run right past it, and we're going to get on our way and into the next area. So as you can see, I'm kind of using both the control stick and the D-pad. You can play this game on both keyboard and controller. I'm a huge fan of using the controller. I feel it during the combat. It makes it just feel a little bit more nice. However, I will fully admit, overworld movement is 100% better on keyboard. Hands down, because you use WASD and the arrow keys, it's really easy to feather movements back and forth, because the big thing about overworld movement is keeping your sprint going, and keyboard can just do it really, really well. So here's our next fight, the ATM. Oops, as I completely forget to, you know, transition through all of the text. The ATM here is actually kind of a troll put in by the devs. Post-ARM, we go around collecting souls by fighting our friends, and when the speedrun community first started playing this game, we actually had the ATM routed in. Because when you go to fight the ATM and after you defeat it, you actually see the soul counter in the corner go down. And so, you know, most casual players and the speedrunning community as a whole, we had originally just routed in this fight because, again, we had, you know, you see the soul counter roll down, you go, oh, you know, that's one of the ones I have to collect. It wasn't until one of our players actually was paying attention to the number pre-fight and post-fight that they realized it actually starts one number higher than it actually is and then rolls down to the correct number. So we did some testing and found out that, indeed, you don't actually have to fight the ATM post-arm, which makes sense. It's a soulless machine. How is the soulless machine going to have, you know, a soul? So it was just either a really clever troll put in by the devs or just a programming oversight. I like to believe that it was just a nice troll put in by Chris and Jordy, especially since you'll see here in a little while that I actually have to collect the soul of a signpost, which also makes no sense since, you know, why does a signpost have a soul? Either way, since this is a short fight, I would probably say that, yeah, this is a short fight, so I won't be like, this is a good time for donations or reading. We'll use Ziggs for that part because, as we all know, I hate that fight. So we have now collected our schmuggles, the currency of the game that we only see once and only use once, to buy our entrance into the nightclub. The pink guard here is going to let us go. We're going to immediately start sprinting down, and as you see, I bonk into that wall and then immediately run right. That wall actually puts you in the perfect position to run straight past both pillars and into Zig here. Zig is our next fight and the longest fight in the game because, again, pre-arm, we can't do any damage, we just have to sit here during an auto-scroller listening to the song, so this fight would actually be a perfect time for a commentator to talk about either donations or the charity that we're running. Also because I hate this song, which means that I don't have to talk during it and I can just kind of zone out for a little bit. I think I'm going to want to actually save talking about the differences between story mode and the other modes for Incinerator or for post Incinerator. I'm not sure yet. I mean, this fight's also long enough that I could probably talk about it during this. Decisions. I think we'll do it during this fight. We'll hand it over for donations or for the commentator, and then if they hand it back immediately or if they hand it back after talking and we still have time, we'll do it here. So we run the game in story mode for 2 reasons. One, character health is actually, well, 3 reasons. Comparatively, the regeneration time between normal, easy, and story mode for your health is pretty bananas how much faster you actually regenerate health in story mode. And you'll see here, I'll take a hit, and by the time I stop flashing, it's probably 2 to 3 seconds, and then we start regenerating health. In easy mode, it's about probably about like 4 or 5, and then normal, it's probably about 5 or 6, and so on. So it just steadily increases. The other advantage to story mode is that instead of 3 hit points, we actually have 8. Which, for 2 reasons, that's really good. Later on, we're going to see an attack that not only looks different, it's a skull flying towards us, and there's only 1 character that does it. It also deals 2 points of damage instead of 1, so it deals a lot more than you would actually expect. And unfortunately, in easy and above, 2 of those shots kill us, whereas in story mode, we can actually end up taking 3. The 4th shot will kill us because, of course, we have 8 hit points and basic math. So story mode gives us a huge advantage just for survivability. However, the last thing is that between story mode and easy mode, the health is cut about half for your enemies. So we're going to see some of these fights start up and almost within the first like 30 seconds will already be done with the fight. On easy mode, it's, like I said, probably about maybe double the health, if not a little less than that. And then normal mode and higher, we actually get to see the bosses survive for quite a while. Story mode, though, we just melt through them, so it allows us to just kind of waltz through the fights. It's meant for you to kind of really just experience the storyline. But it's also the fastest, which is why most speedrunners run on it. We do kind of have a gentleman's agreement in the community, though, for glitchless genocide, that we only run on easy or higher. Which, honestly, I'm actually a fan of, because I really like experience. Like, the main draw of this game is the music. The music is just... each fight is phenomenal. They're really fun. And a lot of the fights, you don't get to see the really cool portions of it in easy mode, because you... or in story mode, rather, because you just blast through it, so... We're gonna really see the benefits of having the 8 hit points, though, once we go into the next fight here, the Incinerator, as the Incinerator is the only portion of the game that has RNG, and it can really cause us some problems, especially if you're a new player and you don't know the RNG portions of it or the patterns. It can easily be a run killer, or just kind of be a kind of a block for casual plays. The nice thing, though, is that if you die, you actually get to do some alternative fights. So it's not like it stops you from progressing, it just takes a little bit longer. And fight is done. Yep, you have more health all around. And I'll show that off. I'll take a couple hits so that you can actually see. But yeah. And it doesn't matter if it's the overworld fights, doesn't matter if it's the normal fights. Story mode, you actually do have 8 hit points through and through on the speedrun version. So this is our first puzzle. The nice thing about it is that you only have to have the puzzle correct by the time the very last note plays. So you saw there, I kind of messed up a little bit, but I went back and fixed it before the last note finished, and I still got the 1 cycle. However, that is still pretty tight, and you can still mess it up, and I've done it a lot. So here we meet the main antagonist of the game, Gold Pig. And while he is not the last boss, we actually kind of find out through the story that he is the one who told Blue Thief to steal our arm, and is also the one who's kind of been keeping these people here. And I'll explain that last part more later. However, this is Incinerator. This is the biggest run killer for speedruns because of the RNG portions of it I was talking about. So this does have some flashing lights. It's not as bad because it's just, again, it's a pretty subtle one. But if you're prone to headaches from flashing lights, I do suggest looking away. Coming in here, though, we are actually in our first pattern. You can see it's just fire snaking back and forth. The way I do this is I stay in the middle, and I kind of pick a little bit of a safety spot to wiggle back and forth with. This is our second pattern here. It's just alternating back and forth. It looks like the movement on it is really tight, but you actually have a decent amount of time to go back and forth. Again, this is all pre-scripted patterns. As long as you memorize the patterns, you can do this without getting hit pretty easily. We're going to walk over here to the right, and we're going to stand in this corner specifically, and we're just going to be waiting for a second fire trail to pop up, and when that does, we're going to move 1 square up. This is now our safety square. So you're going to want to listen to the music here, and there's a certain key that's going to tell us that we want to run into the center, and it's that right there. Now we're back to the little snaking fire, and we just want to stand in the middle. And once this little pattern ends, we're actually going to go into the transition to the RNG 1. And again, that's the portion that really gets most runners, especially on harder difficulties, because, again, we have 8 hit points. And I'll show that off in a second. So we're going to tech smash through this portion here. Music's going to start again, and I'm going to take a couple hits intentionally to kind of show off how much health we have. So that's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. As you can see, I still have more than half my health as I take a 4th hit. So yeah, this is all RNG, where the fire starts and how long it takes to actually go off. There's going to be 2 more RNG portions. The second one is going to be twice as long, And the third one is actually going to be very small, and we can kind of ignore it on most difficulties. So this again is just back and forth. You want to stay in this row here, and as soon as this ends, you want to run to the top. These top 2 rows are going to have fire coming from the right side only, so you only have to pay attention to that side. Next pattern here, start in the center, run left, and then run back. You're going to run down to this square here, run left, run back up, and run back into the center. Again, you want to stay in these top 2 rows. Fire is only going to come from the right-hand side, so we can easily deal with it. Back to the center. Back to the right. Down, left, back up to the corner. Once that goes off, you're going to run back to the center, and then come down here and stand in the center. This next pattern is just going to be a ring of fire. On harder difficulties, this is to let you kind of regenerate health. So you've made it this far, good. This is your breather. However, this is your breather into immediately going into RNG too. So again, the way I always do it is I pick a section of about 9 squares, 6 to 9 squares, and I just wiggle back and forth them. Most players will pick 4, a 2x2, and they'll wiggle between those. However, I have really bad luck with RNG, and I will actually watch as that pattern of 4 just goes off repeatedly. And again, one of the things you need to watch out for is just like that one there you saw, it went off 2 times in a row. So you might wiggle back into it thinking you're safe. You're not. It's going to go off again. So once you get through RNG 2, it's pretty much smooth sailing from here. So we're on what I call the carousel. It's just going to go start with 1 leg, and it's going to go all the way around. Once it gets to its starting position through a full revolution, it's going to back off, and it's going to kind of wiggle back and forth. We're going to get 2 here, and you want to kind of stick on this one's butt, and that's because right there. So we're going to make 1 full revolution. You're going to hear the music kind of ramp up, and then we're going to make a second full revolution. After that second full revolution, we're actually going to go into RNG3. The thing with RNG3 though, it's very, very short, so even if you get hit, you're pretty good. You want to stand right here though, because eventually a ladder is going to pop up, and that's going to let you sprint immediately out of the incinerator. But there you go, that's incinerator. We're gonna tech smash through here. It's gonna show all the puppets that kind of failed getting through incinerator. It's meant to be like, hey, look, you weren't actually meant to survive, but you did. Kind of a dark little thing, but once we start talking about the meaning of the game, it'll make sense. So we're gonna get out of incinerator here. We're going to talk to Blue Thief, and we're actually going to realize something. Blue Thief had his leg stolen. So the person who stole our arm had their leg stolen, and what are we gonna do? We're gonna be nice and we're gonna help. Mr. Quiet One, thank you for the follow, and thank you. Thank you for the follow, and I hope, welcome to the Parliament. That's what I meant to say, jeez. So we are finally out of the dance club, and we are onto the circus. The circus here is going to have our, definitely not Mario Kart in it. We need to do the Mario Kart in order to unlock the exit for circus. However, there are a couple things that you can do here. I'm going to give one warning though. At the very end of the minecart at the very end of the go-kart, the sound kind of cranks up for some reason and gets really, really loud. So I highly stress that when I reach lap 2, you kind of turn the volume down just a little bit and you should be good. So a few things before I would hand it off to a commentator here. So as you can see, we have kilometers per hour in the corner, and we started at 117. The starting speed's a little bit random. You can start anywhere from 116, as low as 114 all the way up to 126, which is the max. I don't think we found a good reason why that happens. It's a little bit RNG. But we're going to be racing here, and we're just going to try and be sticking to the corners. It's pretty simple as long as you pay attention. You can kind of get a little bit outside of bounds and you're good. However, as soon as your inside wheel leaves the track, you'll slow down, so you kind of want to avoid that. And then yeah, this would actually be another spot where I hand it off to the commentator for donations or for talking about stuff, just because there's not a lot to talk to about, you know, go-karting while I'm go-karting. Bye, Rasta Beast. Bye, Rasta Beast. This also be a good point to answer any questions that chat has. Because again, go-karting isn't really that hard. I'm just bad at it. So as long as I pay attention, I think I'll be okay. Ooh, I thought I was gonna get bumped there. I should have slowed down. I definitely shouldn't have kept my speed there. It's a little weird. I'll take it. It's a little weird. Alright, lap 3 of 3. So again, I highly suggest you turn down the volume. It's gonna get really loud here. And at the very end though, once the song finishes and I get back into the circus, you can turn your sound back up. Luca, my beautiful cat, please stop. Luca. You know you're not supposed to do that. Stop that. From the Bean server, keep missing your stream. That is a-okay. I am glad you're in. We're currently trying to get a solid submission video for a marathon benefiting the Trevor Project. So, any questions you have about the game or kind of about speedrunning in general, feel free to ask. I would love to be able to answer your questions. Loud noises. So, as the screen transition there, again, I queued up the sprint down, and you saw that as soon as that text box actually closed, I was already sprinting. Kind of what you want to do for most of the overworld movements. We're gonna go in here and we're going to quickly realize this is not the correct entrance, and we're going to end up in the next level, the forest. Again, as the screen is transitioning, I'm going to queue up our sprint. I'm going to get ready to text smash through the text boxes, and we're going to be on our way. So we're going to come down here, we're going to see this shiny stone, and we're going to pick it up because that is not just a shiny stone, it is actually our friend Green Mage's eye. We should probably return it to him. Oh. We accidentally told him no, and he told us that we have no heart, which is kind of rude but true. So we're going to text smash through here, and Green Mage is going to take care of this block in our way and turn it into a clay pot. There we go. There is a trading subquest that we can actually do later in the game. However, because we're not doing all fights, we actually don't need to do it. We can just kind of skip right over that. But because he is bored and he knows kind of what our end goal is, he's going to try and beat us up. So these are the skull notes that I was talking about. On any difficulty aside from substory, aside from story mode, these are incredibly dangerous because they do 2 damage. Again though, thankfully we have 8 hit points, so it's not that big of a problem. Still avoid them, obviously. But on harder difficulties, this is definitely a death sentence if you get hit by one, because you have to get back to full health before you can get hit by another. So you can kind of see here that we have different types of notes. We have the very colorful ones the flat ones, I should say, and we also have the tall ones. So we can jump over the flat ones. Obviously, we can't jump over the tall ones, but there is also another thing to the tall notes that'll affect us once we actually get our arm and are able to kind of do fights. Those tall notes actually will block any attack that we make, which is really obnoxious later on, and you'll definitely notice through certain fights that I do. Thankfully, though, we can still absorb them just like a normal flat note, but again, they do end up blocking our attacks, which is going to really put a strain on a couple fights. So coming up here, we actually have our first major skip, found by someone in our community named Luna Valkyr, and so we of course named it the Luna Skip. We have been captured by Dr. Orange, or Discount Dr. Eggman as I call him. So Professor Orange here, or Dr. Orange, I can't remember. Professor Orange. Professor Orange here is going to capture us and is going to drag us into our lab, into his lab, in order to stop us, because again, they kind of know something that is going on that we aren't. We just want to get our arm back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cue a sprint up. And while that sprint is being held, I'm going to feather left on my control stick. You can do this on keyboard as well. You just have to do either W or up arrow, but you want to feather left. Now what's going to happen is, while this transition is happening, we're actually still going to be able to move. So what we want to do is we want to get to where we can talk to Blue on the table here before the cutscene ends. So by holding up and feathering left, we can actually walk around the table. What happens is we talk to Blue, we break out of the cutscene through that text box, and we're able to run all the way to the right to Grundle, who's off screen, and talk to him, triggering his fight. That sequence breaks actually saves us probably about 15 to 20 seconds, and is a lot harder, or it looks a lot harder than it actually is. We used to do something a little similar, where we would kind of position ourselves to where we respawned almost right next to Blue. However, Luna figured out that through specific movements, you could position your starting point for where you respawn right next to Blue and actually still talk to him. That sequence break is actually going to be used in a couple places, and the text box breaking is also going to be used in a couple places. One of them is actually coming up. So unfortunately, because Grundle is actually a pretty short fight, this is not, would maybe have like 1 or 2 donations, or just have the commentator do a quick message. However, immediately after this fight, we're also going to get into another fight, and we're going to do another skip based off that fight. I almost got hit there. Okay, that's Grundle down. So, you can kind of see where Grundle spawned there. That's normally where we would actually have to talk to him, because he would walk in. So, not only do we, trigger him off screen, but we also kind of save time of having to wait for him to walk in after we assemble ourselves. So, this is the Ultimate Beast fight. Cool little side note, this is actually the Cat God song, who is one of the secret bosses at the very end of the game. Or, sorry, no, Cat God is the new game plus content, which we won't be seeing. However, unfortunately, Ultimate Beast expends a little bit too much energy, but I will be queuing a run down and keeping my hand off the keyboard or controller, because we're just going to take this text box into the next screen with us. So this is a text box skip. This is one of the only times that we use it in this game, and what we're doing is we're just taking this conversation all the way until the next spot. So as soon as we see the red eyes appear on screen, we know that we're good to spam through Professor Orange's conversation, because another one's going to start up. Normally we would have to be waiting for the cutscene to kind of finish and everything, so it would take a little bit more time, and we'd also have to, do that conversation standing in place. So we just take it with us. This is our second overworld fight, and probably one of the best jams in the song, or best jams in the game, I would say. So Professor Orange here has 3 different fights. He shoots out these red orbs that kind of fly at us in a pattern, and then he shoots out these lasers that track us where we're standing. Pretty easy, just walk back and forth. You lead where the lasers are gonna go, and it's no problem. But we're gonna actually see a third attack here in just a second. You're going to notice that he's going to shoot yellow orbs that actually move vertical. They scroll down the screen. But we're just gonna stand in place. So both times he does this attack, there's kind of a nice little easy pattern, or easy space, safe space I should say, that we can stand in. That kind of just negates the whole thing. So first laser there, we run over here, and then we just run back. That's all we do. Fight is a lot more, appears a lot harder than it actually is. As long as you are kind of just keeping your wits about you on your left hand side and your right hand side, you can kind of just wiggle back and forth, and it's not a huge problem. Oh, as I walk into a laser there. Now he's gonna try and trick us by turning the lights off, but as long as you just watch where the orbs on the left and right are coming in, it's not a problem. And that is the Professor Orange fight. So we're going to position ourselves kind of in the center of those two bottom teeth here, and run up. As soon as this text box finishes here and he disappears off screen, we're going to be able to run through. Now we're going to get our first of the door pieces. This is kind of our gate that we have to pass in order to get to the last level of the pre-arm game. So we're going to come here, we're going to grab a piece of door, and then we're going to exit the lab and be done with it. So here, red kind of just passes out for a little bit, and we see where Gold Pig is, kind of. And we also get introduced to one of the other mages. So we've already met one of the mages. We've met Green Mage, obviously. Purple Mage here is another one of the mages that kind of is getting in our way. And of course, Gold Pig himself is a mage too. So with that, though, we are done with the forest for the first time. We're going to go over to Night Town, not nightclub, Night Town. Now you'll see here really quickly that Rasta Beast actually popped up on screen, which is a little weird. Some of the transitions between the levels load things that are later in the game. So it's a little bit wacky, but we're actually going to be using that to our advantage here after this little segment. So this is the D&D segment. This is also where we're going to get introduced into the deflect mechanic. We will use this in 3 spots total: D&D, Super Racquetball 1, and Super Racquetball 2. Super Racquetball 2, of course, is a New Game Plus fight, so we aren't going to see it. We also aren't going to see Super Racquetball 1 because we're not doing all fights. It's kind of just a Sega knockoff, or Sega spoof, I should say, that this game does. So unfortunately, the only deflect we're going to see is during D&D, but you know what? The D&D segment is honestly one of the best in my opinion, because yes, Luca, exactly. This is the portion of the game in Pacifist where you can actually kind of speed up and not just play based on an auto-scroller of the song. So these red notes, as they get close to us, we can actually deflect them, and that's how we deal damage. We need to defeat the monsters in D&D instead of just kind of outlasting them. Now, because we're on story mode, we're going to have a huge advantage over doing the last fight in this game, which is the Wraith fight, because we can do the fast kill strat very safely. Now, there are 2 fights we're actually going to skip over, and we're also going to kind of just do a little bit of sequence breaking with the trees here. We're gonna say hi to Rasta Beast, but we're not actually going to talk to him. That's one fight that we're gonna skip. We can do a training fight with him, but you know what? Training montages take time, and we just don't have time for that. So we're gonna skip on by, and we're going to talk to Dark Knight as well. If you're playing this casually, there are 2 things that you can do here. 1, you can actually try and go back to the town, however you're thwarted by the DM throwing a tree in your way. And 2, you can actually talk to Flan and rescue him a unlimited amount of times from a crazy squirrel that seems to keep attacking him. However, again, unfortunately for Flan, we don't have time for that, so we're just gonna skip by him. And you know what? We're gonna actually skip by him a second time, when he kind of, you know, gets his equipment and gets ready and is able to really take on the world. We're just not gonna have time for that. So instead, we're gonna go up here. We're gonna talk to this Dark Knight. We're gonna listen to some smooth jazz with him, and we're just gonna say, you know, we're done with you. Dark Knight is done, and we are crossing the bridge into the Swamp of Chaos, which will be quickly remade into the Badlands of Chaos. Badlands of Chaos here actually has 2 skips that we're gonna do. The first one is a text box skip that we kind of gotta wiggle around, and the next one is that Flan fight I was talking about. We don't have time to be talking with people. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run down here. We're gonna say, sorry Zig, your trigger is just not very good, and then we're gonna come up here and see Zig again getting beat up by a mysterious green arm. Spoiler alert, that's Flan. But you know what, I think Zig can take care of himself, so we're just gonna run on by. So those are both the fight skipped and the text box skip, and we're already into the very last fight of D&D here. Now, again, I was talking about there's a very quick kill that we can do that's kind of risky. We're going to try and do our best to see if we can get it off, because there are two ways to end this fight. One, we can actually do it ourselves by doing enough damage to Wraith to kill him, or two, we can have this fellow over here in the cage who got captured actually break out, because unfortunately for him, Rostabeast seems to have gotten himself captured. But you know what? We're strong, we're independent, we're gonna finish this fight ourselves. So, we have the Wraith fight, which is honestly probably one of the best fights in the game, and also a really fun fight to optimize. So I'm gonna focus up, and this would be where I would toss it over to some donations. You can kind of see there the tall notes blocking my attacks. And that's the quick kill. So you saw I was wiggling in between those two columns of attacks. Once you get it down, it's somewhat consistent and easy to do, but on harder difficulties, it's really easy to get yourself killed, because again, you only have 3 hit points. Us having 8 hit points here makes it a lot easier to do, because we can kind of damage boost, and we can also kind of, you know, not worry about getting hit once or twice. But there we go, that's the D&D segment. So we're just going to tech smash through here. We're going to kind of see the montage of what everyone was up to. You know, Zig moves into the tower, Flan opens up a bakery for himself, and our friend Nosferatu there actually, you know, was able to finally do what he wanted to do and became a mushroom in the forest. But with completing his campaign, Green Mage is going to award us with the second piece of door. So we are now 2 out of 3 pieces, and we are well on our way to our post-arm portion of the game. But now we are done with Nighttown, and we're just gonna sit here and exit, and we're gonna head on over to the castle portion. You may have remembered me talking about kind of like sequence breaking by moving during cutscenes or loads. We're gonna do that again. So normally in the game, you don't see the path there, and you're supposed to run all the way right until you hear the forest spirits giggling, and then you can run left and easily see where you are. But we're just going to walk around that, and then as soon as this scene transitions, I'm going to hold up and left and spam A. Now what happened there is, when we load into a map, we are at position 0, 0, 0, so X0, Y0, Z0. Using that, we can actually do some pretty funky things. And on that scene in particular, what we can do is we can actually talk to this minecart here and start the transition into the next area. Now, we're going to be doing this twice. The second time, though, we're going to find out that this tunnel is haunted, and we need to, you know, exercise it. Right now, though, we're just going to groove out, and we're going to get through the tunnel as fast as possible. So, the way we do that is the buttons on the left and the right. We're going to step on them, alternating which ones we step on, and dodging attacks. This also introduces us into our fourth type of attack, those black notes there. Notes that are completely black, we are not going to be able to absorb later in the game, and that's going to kind of give us our obstacles for the most part. So we're in the castle here. We're going to go to the right, and we're going to talk to Flan and Muck, the Goo Brothers, because we need to borrow a very long plank from them. The problem, though, is that we don't have a certificate of very long plank handling, so we're gonna have to prove to them that we deserve the certificate, so that we can get our very long plank, and we can actually go and cross the chasm into the labyrinth. So this is a pretty short fight. However, this is another portion where I've just handed over for donations or the commentator for reading. And then if they didn't have anything, I'd probably talk about, this is one of 2 duo fights that we do in the game. And one we actually won't see until the second time we're in the castle. That one actually alternates between which characters we're fighting. This one, however, has both characters simultaneously. And its little neat thing is that as each character is playing their portion of the song, we'll actually see not only will the notes change color, but the track that we're on will change color. So as Flan here is playing, it's blue, and then as soon as Muck starts playing, it starts turning green. And once they both start jamming, it's gonna go back and forth between them. It's a cool little thing. All right, and there you go. We have proved to them that we can handle a very long plank. Oh. So we're going to go back here and we're going to sprint all the way to the left to where the labyrinth is. While you're running through this room, spam A because there is a text box that pops up. If you spam A fast enough, you can just walk right through it. So, Plank is down, and we see, hey, there's Nosferatu. If you want to go and do the Super Racquetball fight, you go and talk to him. However, we don't have time for that. Instead, we're going to do our best to dodge the cave monster. And how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do a very specific path of left and up until it does not need, or left and up until left is good enough. You grab the key, you go back the exact same way that you go, and you will never see hide nor hair of the cave monster. Yes, Luca, we, in fact, don't see him at all. We can hear him, but we don't see him. You don't say. Buddy, you're gonna get fed soon. So we have the key, and now we can go and unlock the lock. Now, playing casually, you might not know how to do that in order. However, we of course have this routed in. And we're on to our second puzzle of the game. Well, set of puzzles, I should say. So all you gotta do is look for the arrow, and when there is no arrow, you obviously take that path. And here we go. It is now our third piece of door, but we have one thing to do. We need to go and talk to the Mirror of Truth. Now, to trigger the Mirror of Truth, we have to do one thing. Talk to the left, talk to the right, and then talk to the center. Otherwise, it just doesn't trigger. So here we see our true self, or at least what we perceive as our true self. We're gonna text smash through this, because, again, they're just not really happy with what we're doing, but you know what? We gotta do what we gotta do. So we have all three pieces of the door now. We have successfully conquered the castle, which means that we need to go and finally confront Gold Pig and get our arm back. So we're gonna walk down to this empty frame here. We're gonna put in the three pieces of the door, and we're going to go into the hidden area of the game. So much talking. So this is the longest walking portion of the game and easily the best part for donations. So again, this would be a spot where I hand it off to the commentator or the host and let them do all their talking. If they had any, which of course I would hope so. Snap, crackle, pop, stretch, all that good stuff. It's been a while since I've done like an actual full commentating run. I enjoy it. I just need to remember that, like, one, I gotta breathe, and two, I need to make sure I'm hydrating so I don't like end up all dry mouthed. So playing casually, you can actually do a couple things while you're in the desert. One, you can have a nice chat with Rostbeast over there, which actually changes this entire thing from night back to day. Also, hey, Demon Hunter, how are you doing? So far, Autosplitter has been perfect. Doing all right? I'm glad to hear that. Oh, man. My neck is stiff. So coming up here, we're going to have our second run-in with Sir Knight Lost a Lot, and well, technically our third, because we see him in the dance club. But if you're asking where the second one is, that Instacart I was talking about, we actually skip a conversation with him that we're forced into. However, the after this, the next time we talk to him, we aren't going to be doing Instacart. We're actually going to be using him to do the Instacart and not the scene transition. So he's going to kind of come here and be like, I'm going to stop you. And then as soon as we're like, all right, cool, I'm just going to keep walking, he loses steam. So if you're doing the trading subquest, we can see the Jeep coming up on screen here. This is actually where you get your batteries. Again, though, we're not doing all fights, so we don't actually need to do the trading subquest, so we can just run on by. Now, depending on what category you're going to do, actually changes the skip that we're about to do. If you're doing pacifist, you have to go all the way into the castle, and you have to go and do the first fight with Zob. Because we're doing genocide, we actually don't need to do that. If you're, of course, going for pacifist genocide, you do have to do that, because you have to trigger the pacifist ending. When we walk into the castle, however, Purple Mage will summon two brothers, Rob and Zob, a skeleton and a zombie. Because we're doing genocide, we don't care if they get summoned or not, so we can actually just go and do this skip here. So I'm going to run against the wall until I find kind of the loading zone, or right above the loading zone. There we go. And I'm going to wiggle out through the wall. This is going to allow us to run all the way around the map. Hi Rob, how are you doing? And kind of actually come up here and walk around the back end of the level. Now, if you're wondering why we can do this, hi Purple Mage, bye Purple Mage. If you're wondering why we can do this on genocide and not pacifist, it's because with Zob not getting summoned, it actually leaves his trigger as being killed. My visual tell for it is that the path above just goes off screen. I'll try and keep that in mind next time. But yeah, so because Zob doesn't get summoned or shown on screen, or in that scene, I should say, the trigger for him appearing isn't turned on, and the game counts it as us killing him, which means that we can't unlock the pacifist ending. However, if you want to stop that, what you do is you go into the castle, you walk all the way until you get to do the first fight with Zob, and then you turn around and do, well, the skip that I just did. But this is going to be our introduction to a new type of note. However, if we did the Zob fight, Zob actually introduces that type of attack, which we're going to be seeing here very shortly, which is just the wave attack. It is honestly probably the hardest attack to dodge in the game, and the bane of my existence on insane runs. I am so bad at dodging it, and I die so often, it is not even funny. And of course, this is what I'm talking about. Ooh, indigestion is not good right now. So for genocide, this is your introduction to wave notes. However, if you're doing pacifist or any of the other routes, it's going to be the Zob fight. And again, just because those notes have the RGB background, we still cannot absorb those post-arm. Black notes cannot be absorbed. They can be attacked through, and of course jumped over and dodged, but nope, they cannot be absorbed. The double 5 wide later in this fight is the worst thing to dodge. Thankfully, it never happens frequently enough to kill. That is true. I think that's the reason why we can't do no jumps on expert, is because of these attacks coming up that Demon Hunter is talking about. Gold Pig is also one of the only fights in the game that has the 5 wides. And of course, because Gold Pig hates me, he likes to mix in the wave attacks with the 5 wides. Thankfully, though, we're on story mode, so getting hit once or twice isn't that bad. But I definitely think that that could potentially be a fun incentive, is you know, Everhood no jumps. So I only have to do absorbs and then left and right. What, Luca? Oh my gosh. He's such a whiny boy, but he's gonna get fed here soon. But that is pretty much the end of Gold Pig. And where... Hey, buddy, stop that. Stop that. No scratching on that. But that is the end of Gold Pig, and After some talking here, he is going to 1, give Blue Thief back his legs, and 2, show us, or tell us rather, where our arm is. So there is one more mage that we aren't introduced to in the genocide route until we have to go and actually kill him, and that's Brown Mage. So there's 3 mages. However, Professor Orange is technically also a mage, and that's because during the lore we find out that a person can sacrifice their... Oh, as much as I love you, Blue Thief, I didn't mean to talk to you. A person can sacrifice a sense and bind it to a stone and increase their power through it. And actually, that was Brown Mage there that we saw in the background. There are 5 characters that do that. There is Gold Pig. There is Green Mage, Purple Mage, Brown Mage, and Professor Orange. And each one of them, once we actually do the post-arm fights with them and kill them, we'll see where their stones are. Green Mage we already know because we gave him his stone back. It was his eyeball. However, we don't get to see any of the other ones until the post-arm fights. But that is the pacifist portion of the game, except... not really. Oh. I forget how much this run, like, really cramps my hands up until I start actually doing it, and then I'm like, ooh! Snap, crackle, pop. Alright, and here we go. This is our post-arm tutorial with Frog Dad. Ooh. Actually, I think I know what I'm gonna do for incentive. I think for incentive, what I'm gonna do is turn the run into pacifist genocide and no jumping. Because Frog Wrath without jumping is gonna be bananas. Like, even on story mode, it's gonna be story or easy mode. It's gonna be really cool. I might need to start practicing that. Wait! Oh my gosh, such a noisy kitty. However, unlike the sword, we actually don't deflect the attacks, we absorb them. And so the way we do attacks is we absorb 2 of the same color in a row. Hey, you get down from there. That's my computer. I don't like you up there. Once we absorb 2 attacks of the same color, we can shoot back an energy wave, and that's how we do damage. If we get hit with 1 absorb, we actually or actually any absorbs, be it the attack ready or not, we actually lose the attack. So, we are now done with Frog, done with the pre-arm portion of the game, and we're going to go and start killing our friends. Now, you might be like, man, are we the baddies of the game? And while it seems like we are, we're actually not. So it turns out that everyone here is immortal and has been living here for a unimaginable amount of time. And because of that, the world is kind of just ready to, you know, kind of start the cycle of life and death again, but it can't while it has its, the souls of its inhabitants are still here. We find out through Frog Dad there that we were created to kind of, let's see what I mean here. Soul counter pops up, boom, we took a soul. Makes no sense. By talking with Frog Dad, we kind of see, you know, he goes, hey, you know, I know I'm asking you a terrible thing, but you need to go and free all these people. You need to kill them. And in Pacifist, we can say, no, we don't want to do that. And we can go and talk to the Forest Spirit, who's going to be like, look, you need to do this. You know, it's a heavy burden, but you're the only one who can do this. And we can, again, say no. And that actually is what opens up the Pacifist ending to us. So, just like I am doing by absorbing colors of different patterns, nothing happens there. But Disco Jimmy here is going to be our first proper fight, and we're going to notice something else when we actually do a complete clean of an area. Once you take everyone's soul in the area, you'll notice that the music stops. That's kind of your indicator that no one else who is alive is still here. Yeah, there was the robot bartender in the corner, but you know what? Unfortunately for robots, they don't actually have a soul. But as quickly as we came, we're now done with the circus, and we're back onto the nightclub. There are 2 people that we're going to look for here, but there is also a third, well, no, 3 people and another fight. Is it 3 or 4? Oh, it's 4. The sign has a soul, but the robot doesn't. I know, and I like the robot bartender too. He's a chill dude. So we are back for fight number 2 with Zig. However, this time it's not going to be nearly as long as the first one, because thankfully we can actually fight back this time. However, you know, this fight's the same as before, so this could be another spot where I hand it off. And if there were no donations or nothing for the person to talk about, gosh, what could I talk about during this fight? Oh, I know. So you might have noticed that during this fight, it's pretty similar to the first time that we fought Zig, and that's because it is exactly the same. Not all fights are going to be like, though. We're actually going to see that a couple fights are vastly different. And there's kind of a storyline reason for that, and it's because, like for Zig, for example, he's not a mage. He doesn't, or sorry, they are not a mage. They don't actually have the power that some of the other people do. But there's one mage that we're going to come across that actually, or one person we're going to come across that actually isn't a mage and still has the power to fight us on equal footing. And he just, you know, happens to be one of my favorite characters. So we are back to where the game started, and lo and behold, there's that white rabbit again. That's really strange that we keep seeing him, and that's because, well, this isn't the first area that we actually started in yet. This is a portion of the game where no matter how far you run, you'll never get to the end of it, and it's because there's a time trigger. So what we can do here is we can kind of rest our hands, take a drink, all that good stuff, while we wait to get dragged into the next fight with the higher beings, or kind of the custodians of this world, if you want to think of it like that. Now, if flashing or bright lights bother you, this is going to definitely be a portion of the game where you kind of want to turn away. However, this is the fight with the higher beings. We can meet them earlier, however, we have to do the post-mortem fight of the post-mortem fight, which is when we die at Incinerator. But really, we've actually already met them. At the very beginning of the game, you might have remembered me quickly just kind of text smashing through a chat box with a very like vibrant background and everything. That's one of the higher beings of this planet, is what I guess we'll call it. This is just another meeting with them, but of a different kind. So the fight's gonna kind of get a little bit weird here. And again, if you haven't done the post-mortem fight, this is actually the first time that you've experienced this. Again, though, doing fights in order, this actually isn't the first time that you'll have a map like this. And this also isn't the first time that you'll read kind of the minions of the higher beings, which are, of course, as they would be, they're gnomes. So the helpers of the, you know, higher beings, or the custodians, or kind of however you want to reference them, you know, the higher beings are obviously really busy people. So we're just gonna say goodbye. You know, we're gonna beat you up a little bit, and they're gonna send us on our way. Which kind of sucks, because the gnome fights are really fun, and you could say these gnomes are foreign. Ha! Which, unfortunately, I think only, like, fans of the OST or the game would get. So, as much as I love Blue Thief, it is just much faster to not talk to him. And the outcome is the same. If you talk to him, he talks about more of the storyline and kind of what he's going through, and it kind of puts into perspective why we actually need to do what we're doing. However, he's going to show us the door if we talk to him or if we don't. And here's Rostabeast. Now, you might have... You know, I was just talking about someone who can fight us on even footing who isn't a mage, and that is actually our boy Rasta. Rostabeast here is actually one of the strongest characters lore-wise and does not have a soulstone. He is 100% just him. However, we're on story mode. The company name is Foreign Gnomes. Nope, you're right. Unfortunately, though, for Rostabeast, we're on story mode, which means that we're just way too strong, and so we're just going to walk right through them, which really sucks. Again, the song and the fight are phenomenal. They are so good, and on story mode, we just waltz right through it. So now we're fighting the trash can, or, well, the person living in the trash can, I should say. He is another step in the trading subquest, but again, we just kind of run right through that because we don't need to. And I'll show you why we don't need to. Normally, we would do this all for a key so that we can get into Brown Mage's house. However, we're just going to break and enter. And not take the half-used toilet paper. And yes, those words did come out of my mouth, half-used toilet paper. So, this is the flower shop owner. If you notice, he has a trash can on his head. You can trade the flower pot for the trash can because he finds the flower pot is a nicer hat. And then we can give the trash can lid to the trash can because he needs a roof. This is another fight that if flashing lights bothers you, I do highly suggest that you look away. The background is going to get very trippy soon. However, I do implore that you listen to this sweet, sweet jam because we will actually be able to listen to a good amount of it. Finally, a character from my childhood, the Grouch. Yeah, I actually have that split's named Oscar the Grouch for the reason. You know, as much as I give to Rostabeast, this fight was also really, really hard on Expert, and it's hilarious because it's just like it's just the flower shop owner. He just, you know, busts out a power level over 9,000. You're like, holy crap. But that is the flower shop. In that corner there is a trapped being known as the Electric One. And also one of my worst enemies. I am terrible at that fight. So, we're done with the flower shop and we're going to run off screen. Now, there is a reason, and this is it. You might have asked, or as I was talking about earlier, where we just break and enter, normally you use a key to get in there. However, with the arm, you can do just as I did and kind of bust down the lock. Come in here, say, hi, Brown Mage, bye, Brown Mage, and take his soul. As you saw, though, his eye disappeared. That's because his eye was actually a soul stone. He gave up the sight of his right eye in order to gain power. That trash can was so hard on higher difficulties. Yeah, it really is. And it's just because, like, he has so much health and the song is so short, you basically have to do it near perfectly. Hi, fish, bye, fish, and we are on to what is going to be, well, we're on our way to what is my favorite fight in the game. And it's not the very first one. It's going to be the second one we're going to do. However, this is also where the corridor ending is. So if you ever want to do the corridor ending, Luca, you get fed in 2 minutes. I am talking. You are being rude. I'm going to ask you to be quiet. Yes. As you see, there are tally marks all over the walls. Now, if you do corridor ending, you need to run to the right for 888 screens. Yes, 888 screens. Each one of those screens also has all of those tally marks on it. Those tally marks are for 1 year that I have been here on this planet. Everyone. So it kind of puts into perspective just how long we've been here, or just how long the inhabitants have been here, and kind of why we need to free their souls and restart the cycle of life and death. Xbox is buying Activision. Yeah, we were talking about that in chat earlier. But we are now on to my favorite fight in the game, and unfortunately one that we are going to just rush through. This is the real Green Mage fight. This is him showing us his true power. And you can see Green Mage is the only one who uses those skull attacks. That's because, well, Green Mage is actually the strongest mage of the mages. There is another type of attack that we unfortunately don't see because we are going to kill Green Mage too quickly. Ah, I missed that one. Ooh, I'm doing this fight bad. So we see this pattern in notes here where it's like one tall and then a bunch of black notes behind it. That's gonna kind of be... Ooh, this is a really bad fight. That was a really bad fight. Oh, that's right. Rob features the skull notes as well. You're correct. You are 100% correct, Demon Hunter. Does that mean Rob is as strong as the other one? I mean, he is the undisputed champ. But that is the Green Mage fight. Normally we can do it a lot faster. That was a pretty bad fight, but I think next time we'll actually get it a lot better. And with that, we are finally done with Night Town. Which means that we have one place left to go. Well, 2 places left to go. My apologies. The weird thing about Night Town, though, is that unlike the other ones, when you kill everyone, the sound keeps going. I think it's because they're actually split up in different scenes, whereas in the circus, they're all one scene. But we are now going into the forest to take care of the forest spirit, Professor Orange, and Grundle, and another person that we actually haven't seen. So, there are... when you're playing casually, you can actually find a whole bunch of... Okay. There are actually a bunch of mushrooms that are hidden all over. The forest spirit actually created those mushrooms, so they don't have souls that we need to get. But they are essentially sentient beings. It's a little weird. But this is the forest spirit. Normally you have to find all of the... Oh, no. I always forget it's right and then left. This is the forest spirit. Normally you have to find all the mushrooms. They show you where he is. But post-arm, we can actually just come straight and fight him. Forest spirit here does actually know what's going on, and so he's very excited that he finally gets to be freed. Which is kind of why when you do the passive ascending, he's not very happy with you. But we're going to do exactly what he asks. Also, I don't know if I said it, but hey, Nightwolf Child, how are you doing? I hope you're having a fantastic day. But you blinked and you missed it. That's the forest spirit fight. And with the forest spirit done, we're... Oh man, my movement is getting sloppy. With the forest spirit done, we're actually going to go and we're going to pay a visit to Professor Orange, like I was talking about earlier. As I walk right past him. Oh boy. Come on, open up. This is our last overworld fight of the game, and it's really not a fight as much as he just has a bunch of booby traps that we need to dodge. No matter what difficulty you're on, if you get hit once by any of these, you do need to restart from the very beginning, which kind of sucks if you're on really good pace. So each one of these traps is pretty obvious. Don't stand in the spikes, don't get hit by the giant buzzsaws, don't get hit by the lasers. And then there's this one, which is the floor is randomly tased. Ooh, I shouldn't have made it past that one. One more difference between story mode and normal mode, or any of the other ones, if you're on story mode, there's no fire there. If you're not on story mode, there's actually a snaking pattern that you have to go and follow along. But basically the entire floor is on fire. So we come in here, we pop in, we say hi, and Professor Orange six Grundle on us. So just like before, this is the exact same fight, so we're going to be able to do it pretty quickly, thankfully. However, we're going to see that Grundle is a little bit thankful that we did that. As he says, farewell. And that's because, unfortunately, Professor Orange is not a very nice person. But he did actually sacrifice his eyes for soul stones, so why wasn't he able to fight us? Well, we actually never get told. This is the other person I was talking about. Harold Haley here, unfortunately, was at the hands of Professor Orange, and he did some really not nice stuff to us. Or not nice stuff to her. So she's very thankful that we actually free her because, again, she's free. She doesn't have to be, you know, part of the experiments anymore. But now we are done with our second to last area, and we're going to go back to the castle. Now, the castle is going to be a little bit weird for us because, again, we're not going to do the same skips we did last time. We're going to be doing some different ones. But we're going to be doing them in the same order. So, just like before, run to the side and down. Kind of walk around that wall. Follow the white rabbit. This time, do not do the Instacart. We need to do the fight, because otherwise we skip Sir Lost a lot. We have to go back for him. However, after this fight, we're going to do the Instacart skip, and it's going to still work for us. Because again, transitioning into this scene puts us at 0-0, which is right in front of the minecart. So, Sir Lost a lot kind of finally grew his spine. Is going to fight us, but unfortunately for him, we're on a mission, we're determined, and well, we're also on story mode, which means that it's gonna be a little bit easy. Unfortunately for us, Sir Lost a lot likes to use attacks of every color, which is not good. But there you go. That was like what, 5 or 6 hits, and we're done. So as soon as you go out of that fight, hold up and left, spam A to not only get through the text of him, but to trigger the minecart, and we are on our way. Unlike last time, though, we're going to actually be doing this fight because, as you will see here in just a second, we're not alone in the tunnel. There is, in fact, a spooky ghost. And this spooky ghost is also a soul that we need to free, because it would not be nice to leave him here all by himself, right? Even though we're kind of kicking him out of his home. Now, when you're doing this fight, you actually need to be careful because you can move too fast, and if you end the minecart, or if you reach the tunnel end before you kill the ghost, it will actually not count as the fight being completed, and you will have to restart it. But there we go, we got the ghost done, and we are good to go on through the tunnel. Now, minecart is the one thing that I will always admit that keyboard is much better than the controllers, because you can just go back and forth a lot easier. So snake your way up here, and we're going to finally get to see who Rob and Zob are. I think it's a dog barking outside. So this is Zob and Rob. This is also the first of the double fights. So as you notice, when I hit them, the song is changing. That's because each time I attack them, it goes... Whoa! Zob, why you gotta block my attacks there, dude? It goes back and forth. 10k more points. Very nice, Sato. But with that, Rob and Zob are dead. And again, we're going to get thanked because they got brought back from the dead. Their souls were already at rest. And unfortunately, Purple Mage... Well, Purple Mage kind of tore them from that resting spot. But now they're free again. They get to go back to being dead, which they're happy with. Unlike last time, we're not going to purposely avoid the spider. We're going to do movements in a certain order to get the spider to run into us. So instead of going left and up, we're going to go left. We're going to go down, left. And we're going to run into the spider. Now, if you're a little too fast, you'll actually, or if you're a little too slow, he'll run past you. You can kind of just stand there and he'll come back to you. But this is the maze monster. He is a giant multi-eyed spider. He is creepy and I don't like him, so we're going to kill him super quick. Just like that. If you get caught in this fight during the pacifist portion of it, there will be little red sonic springs that you can stand on, and those will actually eject you out of the fight. Otherwise, the fight is just never ending. It repeats on loop. Once you kill him, the spirits here are going to actually show you the way to a hidden room, and that's going to be where Gold Pig is. However, Because they're spirits, they like to play tricks on you, but you know what? We're not going to fall for that. Normally, you go forward, right? No, you just go back the way you came, and lo and behold, look at this. We're in the spirit room, and who else but Gold Pig? So yes, even though Gold Pig is a big meanie, we do actually still need to free his soul, because everyone needs to be kind of back in the cycle of life and death. So I'm going to focus up here, because this fight still can cause me some issues, even on story mode. So this would be another portion where I would give it back to donations, or for talking about the charity, anything like that. Because we're just going to be running back to. So it kind of gets addressed a little bit, but Gold Pig there, if you saw, had 6 soul stones, right? Yeah, it could be like an homage to Thanos, but at the same time, it's also kind of like, what all senses did he sacrifice to get those stones, or whose senses did he sacrifice to get those stones? Nosferatu, we did not forget about you, buddy. We're going to free your soul as well. The reason we do it on the way back, though, is that it positions us perfectly to run on through. Now, we do maze first because we want to skip a cutscene that happens. If you go up from here, you'll get stuck in a cutscene that takes a while. So instead, what we do is we do the maze first, and then we wrap back around and we do the Goo Brothers. This is going to be our second double fight, but this one's going to be a little different than the last one. This is going to follow the same kind of formula as the first time we fought them. However, we're gonna notice that we well, just watch. I know it's faster, but I like using him to position myself, because otherwise I get a little, I usually bump, I go down too low. But lo and behold, we killed Muck first, which means that Flan is not gonna be happy. And that actually transitions us into the Flan fight, which, again, really good fight, but we're just gonna end it really easy. I mean, if anything, it's just free time save for someone who wants to go for the Geno world record. Now, we have taken care of the Flan brothers, and I'm going to hug this wall because there is going to be a a text scene that we can skip. Now, if you're doing some math, you might be like, wait, I'm counting that we've got a couple more souls, but we've almost taken care of all the characters, right? Well, that's because there's a couple the game kind of throws a curveball at us. One is this. Did you know that our cursor has a soul? Well, it's because we have a soul. I think. I don't know. I'm just kind of pulling stuff out of my butt with that. But the cursor fight is here, and something cool happens after the cursor fight. Ah, as I missed that first hit. Oh yeah, the cursor fight has skulls too. I forgot about that. I also forget that it alternates between red and orange. Demon being tricksy here. So if you notice, the next time we actually have a text box, pay attention to the cursor. It's going to be really quick, so you're going to have to like really pay attention to it. But we're actually going to... Oh, I went the wrong way. Oh, I didn't? No, that's right. That's the other one is the center. So here is Purple Mage. Purple Mage is my least favorite fight because on harder difficulties, especially in Pacifist, if you're doing glitchless, you do have to fight Purple Mage. Purple Mage has one of the coolest kind of mechanics to their fight though, and it's that if you get hit, it rewinds time. Now on harder difficulties of Geno, or all fights, or basically anything where you fight Purple Mage, it's actually really handy because there are certain portions of the fight where you can get more attacks off. So you can get hit before, you know, it transitions into those phases and kind of rewind time to get quick hits off. It's really cool. I am really bad at that fight in Pacifist though, and I spend so much time on it because I'll get hit and time will rewind and then it goes through the same thing. It's really painful. So again, you might be asking yourself, haven't we killed everyone? Like, why is there one soul left? And well, we do have one more person to kill. But first, we need to go talk to the lost spirits. So we're gonna go into that door that I have ignored this entire time, this one here. We're going to go talk to the lost spirits, the ones who've been guiding us, and casually, if you're looking for people, they're the ones who kind of show you the way, and they'll actually give you an item to find people that you might have missed. But they're going to be like, hey, you're ready. We need to go and finish this up. So we're going to come out and talk to them, and they're going to tell us, hey, you need to destroy all these doors. Because we need to kind of... That was an accident. We need to kind of like get the planet ready to reset. And so we're gonna do just that by destroying all of those doors. Also, there are all those tally marks. Those tally marks as well are indeed for one for every year that people have lived here. So again, kind of think back to like the amount of tally marks we've seen with the corridor and everything. That's how long these people have been here. So one more door. Talk to our spirit here, and he's gonna tell us, hey, now only one remains. And who is it? Who is the soul that we have to destroy? Well, it's the sun. I'm not joking. That white rabbit there is the sun. We have to go and kill the sun. This fight also has pretty bad photosensitivity. It's not enough to like trigger people, but again, if you're kind of like, you get headaches from bright lights or anything like that, I do suggest you look away for the remainder of this fight, or for this fight, and this fight and the next one. Unfortunately, both have really bad flashing light problems. Oh, yes. Demon is 100% true. This fight is also incredibly loud. For some reason, this one's amped up. So again, turn your sound down just a little bit. This fight has something interesting, though, with it. And it's that the stage for the fight, the notes take a lot longer to travel to you. And when I was originally learning this game and I was doing like expert and you know, like learning hard and expert when we used to have the routes split like that, this fight was my run killer. I spent so long on this fight because again, the timing is like, the timing is weird because the notes aren't spawning where they normally are, and they take a little bit longer to get to you because they kind of like amp up in, or ramp up in speed. I missed the quick kill on that. But that's the sun fight. We didn't get to see the cool part because, again, we're on story mode and we're trying to go fast. But that fight gets very, very hectic. It's also a fight that's on an infinite loop, so it's either you lose or you eventually kill the sun. There's no, like, timeout. Now, we are on to the Cosmic Cube fight. This is the one I was talking about being... no, sorry, this one isn't super bright. It's the next one that's super bright. There are still some flashing lights, so do be careful on this one. But for the majority of the fight after this, you're going to want to look away from the screen if you have photosensitivity issues. Ooh, my sum of best is going down. This fight would also be a good moment for any donations or readings, especially since it's been a while since the last one, because this fight is also an auto-scroller. We can't, even though we can do damage, there's no life bar to do damage to. It just kind of goes, hey, hit register, you're good to go, and then nothing to show for it. So, kind of an auto-scroll. Well, it is an auto-scroller. Now, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, hey, is this a Full Metal Alchemist reference? I thought the same thing too, so you're not alone. And bright lights. So after the donation reader reads, talks about everything, so we can kind of catch up on story here, because again, this is an auto scroller. We're going to be stuck here for a little while. So when Frog Dad first talked to us about, you know, freeing everyone's souls and everything, he warned us. He said, you know, people aren't going to understand what you're doing or why you're doing it, so they're going to be very angry at you because you're killing them, obviously. However, it's for their own good. You know, they've existed for eons and eons and eons, and it's gotten to the point where some of them are falling apart. And if you talk to Blue Thief, he actually talks about how he's forgetting things that he shouldn't forget. He's forgetting things that have just happened, and he feels like he's falling apart. And while he should be scared of you because he knows what you're doing, he's not, and he trusts you. And, you know, again, 888 scenes of that corridor, all filled with tally marks, just to kind of, again, put into perspective how long this plane of existence has existed, how long these people have been here. But we find out that, one, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. Red, or who Red is, I should say, has actually tried this before and failed. They couldn't live with themselves after what they did, and so they were stopped and they were trapped in this puppet here. And there are a couple hints as to who is actually stuck in the puppet, and that, you know, the puppet itself doesn't have a soul but is, in essence, a puppet. But we skip one of them, which is the post-mortem fight. But as I was saying, this is kind of the reconciliation for all the souls that we have took. This is them getting their anger out on us, because again, with the cycle of life and death, we got to make sure that they're at peace, and they can't really be at peace when they think that we murdered them just to murder them. So even on story mode, this fight is a little bit hard. It gets pretty hectic, so I do like to concentrate on this one. So again, this would also be a pass it over for any donations or anything. But if you read along here, it really puts into stone just what is going on. You know, they thought they were happy, and then they start to realize, like, wait, was I actually happy? Like, wow, it's been a while since we've been here. Like, what is going on? Again, flashing lights. I hope that you all took heed of my warning. And again, they have done actual photosensitivity testing on this, and thankfully it wasn't found to trigger anything like seizures, but it is still kind of painful to look at. And if you like get, you know, headaches from bright lights or things like that, it can definitely cause that. But here we see the personification of all the souls that we took, and they're very not happy with us. So we're just gonna kind of let them get their anger out and just kind of dance around their notes. But these are actually the souls that got taken the first time that this happened. This isn't the ones that we recently did. Because again, this isn't the first time that this has happened, and if you go through the fight with Rasta Beast and you let him talk to you, you actually find out exactly what happened. But here are the mages, and again, the mages are very powerful beings. They've given up senses to make those like super powerful soul stones and bind them to themselves. So now we're gonna actually have to fight the mages. And this is also kind of where it gets like solidified that orange actually is like strong. He just knows exactly what's gonna happen, so he gave up. And there we go. So, Pink Mage, or Pink, was actually the soul that was inhabiting Red. But the thing that we find out is that Pink Mage was also the one who had to do the killing the first time. And again, this is where we're talking about how, you know, they've been trapped in this cycle of immortality, and they kind of need to be freed. So if you remember back to that fight with Gold Pig the first time at least, because we killed him too fast for the second time, you see Pink there. In the post-mortem fight, we also see Pink. So that's kind of those hints as to who Red actually is. And there's an ending that's pretty interesting too, because and the ending for the New Game Plus content kind of touches on who created the puppet and kind of why the puppet was created. Anyways, what we're gonna do, we're gonna put in the Konami code. So Pink here feels lost without Red to kind of for Pink feels lost because we were controlling Red. And now without the puppet to control, she doesn't really know what to do anymore. So she's kind of asking for us to guide her. We put in the Konami code, and lo and behold, she gets the bandana from Red. Normally I run down here, but I'm gonna try running up. I want to see if it's a little bit faster. So no matter what direction you run, eventually stuff spawns. Nope, down is definitely faster. But lo and behold, we find a cabin, and who but Frog Dad, load, thank you, is in the cabin. Normally we'd talk to him, but unfortunately we don't got time for that. So we're going to run down here into the basement. We're going to run all the way to the right. Hey, Luca, I told you stop that. Stop scratching on stuff. So, normally you can resist, and there's a bunch of cool cutscenes that you can talk to, where everyone is like, hey, like, you know, you can't be afraid as well. But again, the fastest way is to just let it happen, run, Frog Dad assures you. We do it, let it happen again, and lo and behold, here we are. I have over 9 messages on my freaking Discord that are like yelling at me. So this is the next fight that I'm going to say, once the fight really starts, do be aware this has really bad flashing lights. But this is my favorite little quirk of this game. We're playing as Pink now, right? So we still have the same abilities as Red. We can move left and right. We can jump. We can absorb and deflect attacks. However, Pink has butt cheeks. Pink's got a little booty there. And I love that Chris and Jordy were just like, you know what? We're gonna give this, like, you know, this soul, this being of pure energy, or however you want to describe what a soul is. We're gonna give him a butt. And so lo and behold, as we're playing Pink, we get to stare at their butt, which is a little funny and a little weird at the same time. But this is the fight that I was talking about earlier, where we're going to abuse the invuln frames we get from doing jump rolls. Because you can see there's a lot of these like columns that we can't really, like, you know, do anything with. We just gotta kind of dodge. But we can actually jump and roll in them. And it gives you a lot more of a safety window to get past these columns here. Because again, we can't absorb those columns. All we can do is dodge them or destroy them with an attack of our own, but we gotta absorb attacks first to do it. So this fight starts as an auto-scroller. We kind of gotta wait for a certain trigger to happen, and then we can actually start damaging the cube. But for now, we just get to jam out, listen to the song, and enjoy the atmosphere. I was trying to be cheeky there and jump back and forth. Again, flashing lights, as I've said before, it's only going to get worse. But, you know. What game doesn't end with us basically fighting God? Has not been easy. You have fought well. But the most important one is still left. So, we're at our first damage phase, and I whiffed the first attack. That damage phase is actually really important for the speedrun. You want to at least get 3 attacks off. You can get 5. Well, the most I've gotten is 5. And that damage does transfer over. That's because as soon as we get a damage threshold, it will send it into a phase where it's much, much easier for us to actually get damage off. And we want to try and get that phase as fast as possible. Whoops. I'm taking my eyes off the screen and I'm getting hit. So, we can kind of see now that as the song is progressing, things are getting a little weird, and that's literally the world is falling apart. We've, you know, taken every soul from the world. We've taken the sun. And the world's finally like, you know what? It's just about time for me to go. And so it's literally falling apart as we're fighting it. So this is our second damage phase. Again, another important one. As I messed it up. I should have taken those attacks. I need to work on damage boosting into those attacks. Because you can get off quite a few of those you can absorb quite a few of those if you damage boost into them, which on story mode is, again, not as much of a threat as on easy or higher. We are the beginning of the end. I love that line. Really? You can only do 1 damage during this phase? Huh. Which is weird, because, like, all the dialogue happens, like, no matter what, all the dialogue happens before you actually finish this fight. Interesting, though. But, as we see, the world has said goodbye. However, we can't end it that way. That's not the way that we should end it. So we're gonna go out the only way that we should. Fabric of reality is breaking. I could have absorbed another attack there. Probably to stop this section immediately going to the second phase and breaking. Really, I thought I was doing it. Huh. I'll have to pay attention to that next time. And yes. So, fun fact, on higher difficulties, actually even on actually no, I think it's on just higher difficulties because your life doesn't appear. I've died in this section before and lost a practice run I was doing off screen. And I laughed at myself because I was like, I literally got to, you know, this is the last fight of the game, or the second to last fight of the game. I was on really good pace, you know, I was just doing an offline recording, and I was like, all right, cool, we got the hard part done, like I can just kind of chill and do the rewind portion of it. And I wasn't paying attention, and I got hit enough that I actually died. It was before we started doing it on story mode. And I was so mad at myself. I was like, are you kidding me? I can't believe I just did this. I think it does make it easier on the harder versions. You mean the, like doing the 1 damage pre-very last phase, or... Also, that's not a loading screen. That's literally just they put in a very, very long black screen for you to stare at. And I find that so great. The difficulty of that very last section. Oh, okay. I get you. And here we are, the main villain of the game, Buddha. No, so cool thing about this, we're not gonna actually stand around and see it. But if you actually wait in front of Buddha, he actually cycles through different deities. Nope, you only have 3. After this run finishes, I'll go and show you on oh, for that section? Oh, you might. I don't actually know. It's been forever since I've ran it. Anyways, but if you stand in front of Buddha here, he will actually cycle in between different deities. However, we don't have time for that. Also, interesting side note, this is the only known spot where you can, with subtle musical cues. That's fair. Actually, that's very true, Joyrock. Also, hey, Joyrock, welcome to the stream. I hope you're feeling much better. But fun fact about that, you can actually wiggle yourself behind Buddha and soft lock yourself. We had one runner do it. He reported it. I have never tried to recreate it. I don't know anyone else who has tried to recreate it, but he documented it. So that is, as far as I know, the only portion in this game, no matter what version you run on, that you can soft lock yourself, which I think is kind of cruel because it's literally at the very end of the game. However, though, this is the very last fight of the game. This is our, everyone's at peace. Everyone's kind of had the explanation of what has happened and what's going down. And so everyone's ready. They're ready to start the next life, And so this is their send-off to us, kind of. So it would be at this portion that I would say, nobody turns their back on Buddha. This would be like the very last like donations or anything that the commentator would want to talk about. This would be a great spot for them because again, we're just jamming out. We can't really do anything or finish the fight until a certain amount of time has passed anyways, so it's back to that whole just auto scroller fit until the phase change goes. I kind of wish that like if you waited for Buddha to change shape and you talked to Buddha while his like in that separate shape, that would be the shape that you're fighting instead of just Buddha himself. I think that'd be a cool little key. Because again, it's like it just cycles through all of these prophets or deities or whatever you want to call them. My cat's making funny noises and I keep looking away from my screen to see what he's getting into. I don't remember what my world record is. But I am very bad at this fight because there is a way to do it faster. So I'm actually gonna kind of focus up a little bit. Oh my gosh. 145. Okay, thank you, run. Oh no. There we go. So, real time. It's not going to be Real time, it's definitely not going to beat. However, loadless time, it's going to beat it. It's going to beat it by quite a bit. So there is one last little gotcha here, which is as we fade out, we're going to, get asked one last question. If we want to hear one last absolute truth. Faster option is to say, no, we're good. However, we're not done yet. Time is going to be on the credits, but there's one last thing before the credits. If you do this with a save file that has New Game Plus on it, you don't have to worry about it. However, New Game Plus has a loading trigger that you have to dodge the entire time. Hey, look at that. 140.42. I'll take it.